contract, it doesn't speak to everything that you've done. Especially thank you from going from July 1 to February, today's date, without being compensated or doing anything that you do at the visitor center, because pretty much you guys are manning that. So thank you. Just going to the contract, the Chamber of Commerce is trade and business. And one thing that I have an issue with on this, which I don't know how that ended up in here, says assist the city of Las Vegas with research and grant information. That's kind of out of the scope of any chamber. I think that's more for, other organizations or other groups. I don't know why we, that's included in this contract. One thing that I would like on top of the monetary, is also, I guess my question would be, what attorney reviewed this contract, Mr. Estes?
I believe, Mayor and Council, I believe we sent this to our current contracted attorney, but I'll have to confirm with Ms. Darlene Arguello.
Okay. And then I think it's important when we go through these contracts that, that signature is on there and that it has been reviewed. I think that's very important. But going back to this, I also think that we need to put in this contract, which I'm okay with it, is we also need to put add on to it just, the use of the facility to tie that into, whatever we assume, if it's $5,000 for the rent, we need to add that in here. Not to take out of the monetary value of it, but, put that in there, that's part of the contract.
I believe it is, Council.
I guess I didn't.
I believe the value of the office is $5,000, but
Listed as in kind.
Okay.
in kind, right. I believe it's in there.
Okay, I guess I skipped that one, but just with that, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I think that, the research on grant, I don't think that's something that any chamber should be a part of. I will say, in speaking now at the conference it was the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber and some other chambers, and the Albuquerque had 40, of course they're bigger and everything, but,
Right.
just some of the, their scopes and that they have within Albuquerque. I think you guys kind of do what they do, and there's only, I guess, just Angie and you volunteering your time, you know what I mean? So,
And so Counselor, just to let you know how we recovered from being in debt to being a functional organization, as we agreed with the county to write some grants. And so those grants were successful. And maybe it shouldn't be in the contract. I don't know if the county's gonna agree with that, because they do expect us to do that. But maybe it shouldn't be in the contract, but we're still gonna do it because we.
and I guess maybe, I don't know what their contract is, but, as far as grants, for workforce or business development, stuff like that, those you kind of understand that would kind of be on here.
Right.
But to include, for development or reconstruction of, Peterson Dam, how is that the responsibility of
There's
the
no
chamber? You know
way.
what I mean? So though that's some things that I saw within this contract that I feel shouldn't be in here. As far as, the film and that, Angie, she's put plenty of hours, in gathering, support letters, things like that, on other things that we're working on, that I'm glad they're in here that weren't before in this contract. So those are the little things that, at the end of the day, it's something that we support that's gonna be a benefit to the city. And, in some of our contracts, it was, things were just put on there, but it wasn't really a benefit, and I think that's important that we get our money, we give the taxpayers,
Right.
what we're paying for and not just giving money out. So, I have no issues with this. I just wanted to say that, Mayor, and I don't know how you guys feel, but I'd like that language on that one taken out.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Mr. Montoya?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Mr. Maestas, so this is, last year's, what was the amount? Or the year before?
The contract is in there. I believe it was 40,000
40,000?
with 5,000 in kind. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then, so this is lodger's tax monies?
I'll have to see where it's paid out of, but I believe it is.
Okay. And has it gone before lodger's tax?
No.
I don't think this is like
No,
tax
no,
money.
no,
This
no,
is general
I'm sorry.
fund.
General fund?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm a little bit lost and a little bit fuzzled. So on here, it says that the last contract was in, up to June of last year. So what's happened from June to today?
We've been working for free.
Working for free?
Right.
And you can't work for free for the next year? No?
At night?
Okay. Okay. I was just curious as to why it lapsed, you know, and,
So there was a lot of changes. Number one, there was changes with, you know, I know the city, number one, there was no community development director for a while. And then then the city's attorney left. But I didn't want to lose this. And so, you know, being as frugal as we've been trying to do, I thought in my head, the way to grow was to roll up your sleeves and help out. And so if that makes any sense to anybody,
okay, and that's okay. But we do have an economic development director, and we've always had one on board. And it is Mr. Leo Maestas. He's serving as the economic development director.
here now, sir.
He's right here.
Oh, okay, yes. And don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
Mr. Maestas and I have worked.
And our city attorneys, we've always had 3 on board.
Okay.
So we do have attorneys on board.
So, but Counselor, if I may, I'm not asking for back pay.
No, I understand that. And my other question was, how's your membership? Has that grown? It's still the same? Has it dropped off? or
It
what?
has grown.
It has grown.
It's grown, in the past 3 years, I would say it's grown 80 or 90%.
Yeah. And, you know, I do want to thank you and Angie. I mean, I've met with Angie various times throughout this last 6 months, throughout the year. And I met with you a couple of times here and there. And I hear you on the radio and I listen to your programs and so forth.
Right.
I was a little bit upset that you didn't mention that the city of Las Vegas got the 3.2 for the Rodriguez Park last year, and that we're pushing for $5 million this year on your program.
That was this week's program.
This week's program, yeah. But I do hope that you do have a table at the legislative day for Las Vegas on Monday, so that you can show off Las Vegas also and take pamphlets and so forth.
And to go back to the radio program, Counselor Montoya, we do everything. I don't know everything about everything, and I depend on a lot of the people that we interview. And sometimes I'll get a text, and even from the mayor, and say you misquoted.
I'll text you.
But everything is positive. Everything.
It was very positive. It was.
Everything that we do is positive, and if I don't have all the information,
It's all good, and we're moving forward with that, and hopefully we'll get the 5 million to move
right.
forward
And
even
I
more.
would be glad to share that.
And I'm glad that we're having the state tournaments up here.
Right. So
again.
am I.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Ulibarri?
Mr. Maestas, thank you for the work. Angie, thank you for what you guys do. How many members do you have, more or less?
Sure, exactly. I would say about 130.
Because my business is not a member, I would like to be a member, so.
Okay.
Okay,
And so our membership, when COVID came, we decided that we were gonna help out the businesses, and it's only $25 to become a member.
That's what you get from every business.
Well, some of them go ahead and pay the full amount,
Right.
the ones that can afford it. But when COVID hit, the board thought, you know what? We're not gonna get these people to sign up. So we talked about it, and like I said earlier in the conversation, I always thought, that strength is in numbers. It's just like the police department or the fire department, we thought, let's get these people to sign up. Let's get them on our website, and we have a great website that we maintain. We have a great social media site that we maintain, and it's updated every day. And we don't make a lot of money off of that, but there's some members that, like the banks and some of the other organizations that will go ahead and pay, the insurance company, they'll go ahead and pay the full amount. And I've never seen us suffer because we treated them that way. I thought we were helping people, and which is what you folks do. That's what you do. You're not here to make a ton of money, but you help people. So that was my thinking. And during my tenure, I don't know how long my tenure will be. I hope it will be a long time if they don't kick me out. But to me, it was strength in numbers, and it wasn't so much the monetary part of it. And so.
I had a question, and oh, go ahead.
Do you work real close with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce or?
We talked to him, but we haven't really, and I asked Manny to come on the radio, and so we could talk to him. I've met with him, but we don't work real close at this point, but I think we should.
Because I think their fees are a little higher than what you guys have, you know.
Right, they are.
Have you thought about increasing your
Well,
fees?
we are gonna increase our fees, but we're gonna wait till this recovery process
Right.
ends. And you know, first we had COVID, then we had the fires, then we had the floods, but what I try to tell everybody is this is not the end of it. We're gonna have an economic blow to us. This is gonna be number 4. And if these businesses don't survive through number 4, then the city of Las Vegas is gonna be, you know, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be destroyed, but you can see other cities that don't survive. You know, like I'm even gonna use, you know, Springer, Wagamama, Raton. You know, they struggle through this, and so that's my thinking. Is the way I'm thinking, but we can say, okay, you're gonna pay $250, $2,000, whatever it is. But is that gonna get us anywhere? I'm not sure. Or am I gonna go to county government and say, can you help us grow? And then we can go to that point.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the contract and for the deletion of that one area that Counselor.
Could I add the language I have for number 9?
Sure.
So on number 9, if we could change the language to assist the city of Las Vegas with research and promotion and workforce development of film production, and also support of a state film museum. Cassandra?
Yes, Counselor. Also to clarify your question that you had earlier on this contract. So the contract is the same as it was last year. The only things that were changed were the amounts and the year. The effective year. So it was reviewed by our previous city attorney, which was Scott Aaron.
I don't remember number 9 being on there at all. Is that-
It's the same. I attached the previous
Oh,
contract
okay.
just for your reference, but I didn't change anything but the dates and the amount, just for clarification.
I mean, still with that, I'd
Do you
like
agree
that change.
with the motion, with the chief, with the addendums?
I do, but I would like, can we get a new system? This one just drives me crazy. I complain about it every meeting. Doesn't work. If you're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I do. And just on a personal note, $50,000 is a drop in the bucket for the amount of work that the chamber does. They do fantastic work. They've promoted businesses. They've done everything that they can think of to promote Las Vegas. And that's their main focus, and I really commend them for doing that. And so I really think that $50,000 is extremely good bargain for Las Vegas.
Just a discussion to add on to this before we move on to the motion. Leo, could you meet with your finance director and see if it's possible to utilize lodger's tax money in this way? And possibly look at using the lodger's tax money as a stipend or an incentive for not only Chamber of Commerce, but possibly for Main Street and the other works and the other people who are doing good work in town, trying to promote Las Vegas. So if there's a way that you could analyze it to see if we could use, I'm dying to use that lodger's tax money, and I want to spend every cent of it. So there's a motion on the floor with an addendum mentioned by Mr. Romero. I need a second.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya? Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari? I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Philip.
Thank you, folks. Thank you for your time.
Next order of business, please.
Item number 3, request to award request for proposal RFP number 2023-02 for destination marketing services to Matthew Mora, Sunny 505. We have our city manager, Leo Maestas.
Leo, welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the city was interested in seeking a contractor to work with us for destination marketing, rebranding, and also our city websites. So the city put together a RFP in late fall, and we advertised outside of our normal region, which is usually the Las Vegas Optic and Albuquerque Journal. We also posted in the Denver Post, Austin American Statesman's newspaper, as well as the Los Angeles Times. We did receive 2 proposals from 2 different vendors, and we went through the RFP and scoring process, and the outcome was Sunny 505 was the outcome of that RFP process. We are working with New Mexico True on collaborating with them to get a good product with this a new RFP that we're doing with the city of Las Vegas.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I just had one quick
Romero.
question. Real quick, just for the record, Mr. Maestas, who was on the recommendation committee?
So the individuals that did the judging, I believe, was myself. God, there was 4 of us that did the judging. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry, but I can mention that later on if you like. I will find out though.
Any other questions?
So, Mr. Maestas, so by approving this contract tonight, basically we're allowing you at no limit to promote the city of Las Vegas and do whatever marketing is necessary through whatever means. Because there's no price attached to this contract.
Right, this would give us the avenue to be able to negotiate with the contractor. That's the RFP process, based on our scope of work.
Okay, and when you do get that result, what happens then?
So we'll get our pricing based on our scope of work, and then we'll present that to the council to get your approval for that.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Just for clarification, Mr. Maestas, so basically, so this RFP, we're just getting proposals from the 2 they submitted based off of what we were asking for them to specifically do, just right off the top of your head. What were those items?
So the items were rebranding for the city. That was the Las Vegas tourism website redesign. That was marketing destination journalism, creating stories that we can post across the country. And it was, the last one was, it's on that last page. Visitor's guide, I'm sorry, yes.
And with that, okay, I mean, you had mentioned it to us before in the past. I just wanted, for the public to understand kind of what's going on here. And based off of the 2 proposals, the committee felt that this would be the best, or the company to work out more details on based off of what they can do for the city of Las Vegas. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the other question that I had, as to what Ms. April had asked, do we have an answer as to the media or anything that they put out that belongs to us and we don't, if we cut certain ties with them?
That's part of the negotiation, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Casey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page 13 of the contract, number 5, on the scope of work, listing. It says additional marketing services as determined by the city manager. I know that we give the city manager a lot of leeway, and he has, the authority to do a lot, but I really feel like the council should also have approval of whatever additional marketing services the city manager has, and they should be presented to the council so that we can give our input and vote on whatever that is. And because we don't know what everything is going to cost, I think that language should be added to the contract.
Madam Casey, I believe that's where, that's what our city manager would responded to. My question is that he would bring it back to city, to mayor and council, once they figure out what needs to be. Because, it could be 50,000, it could be 100,000, it could be 300,000. Depends on what we're asking, the needs are, and what he thinks is approved. He'll bring it before us before then.
To answer your question, Ms. Casey, so this vendor came to us, they could provide those basic services that are stated here, the 4 items there, and there was numerous other services that they can provide to us that we can choose from now that we've gone through this process.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I suppose there'll be community meetings and meetings with different groups and organizations for marketing purposes with this company?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because I would like all the civic organizations and nonprofits to be able to meet with them as well. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Montoya.
I'll make a motion to award RFP 2023-02 for
There's-
marketing services for Matthews Mora Sunny 505.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Second, please.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask the maker of the motion to add language that the final contract negotiations based, how would we put that language? Based that the final negotiations of the contract will be brought forth to council?
it's on the record.
It was stated in the record, but if you'd like to add it to the motion, that's totally up to council.
I'd be fine with that motion. I did,
I second that. I second that, Mayor.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero? I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Order of business, please.
Item number 4, request approval of resolution number 23-01 to apply for and assuring of matching funds for the Transportation Alternative Program grant. That's the TAP for a total project amount of $1,033,248.51.
Is that what the grant amount is, and what would be our match?
And we have our Public Works Director, Mr. Arnold Lopez.
Welcome, Arnold. Is it?
Mayor and council?
Sorry, I answered my own question.
Mr. Mayor?
They answered my own
I make a
question.
motion to approve Resolution 23-01.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a question by Ms. Casey.
Thank you.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
I'm going to vote for this, but I want to know exactly where that money is going to go, because it says for planning, designing, reconstruction, pavement rehabilitation, ADA compliant walkways, drainage improvement, construction management, and miscellaneous construction. I would like to know where the reconstruction is planned, where the pavement rehabilitation is planned, and where the ADA compliant walkways will be. And I know where I would put them, but I want to know where you have planned them for us. Yeah.
It consists of starting again on Bridge Street, going all the way to Mills Avenue. So it is basically reconstructing the whole area.
Does that include the park area?
Ms. Casey, if I may, this is the project that I mentioned in my presentation that is on the Riverwalk, the alternative routes project.
So
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
not anything that needs to be fixed that isn't ADA compliant on Bridge Street or around the park?
No, ma'am. This is pertaining strictly to the Riverwalk.
Okay, too bad.
Yeah, that's general language, if you notice in.
I know,
a lot of
but,
those.
general language bothers me because
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what it is that you're doing. And I'd like to know so that when people ask me, I can answer that question, correctly.
So this is strictly for the Riverwalk. There's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Mr. Lopez, would you mention how many applicants have applied for these funds this year?
So there is only 2 applicants on this year, so we're not facing a lot of competition. So I'm pretty confident that we will secure this funding.
That would be great.
That's for the Riverwalk?
Yes, ma'am.
Next order of business, please.
Request approval of Resolution 2302 to apply for and assuring matching funds for the Municipal Arterial Program Grant, the MAP, for a total project amount of $1,286,200. Mr. Lopez?
Just a quick question, Mr. Mayor. For the city manager, do we have all those matching funds available already? Or where are we going to get all that money to do the matches?
I can answer that. Typically, we always request a match waiver, and we pretty much are always granted it for these particular type of fundings. So I'm pretty confident that we will get a match waiver. We always qualify
I
for it.
was hoping you were gonna say that, especially now that we've had, so many extra expenses that we didn't anticipate because of the fire and flood and everything else. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask you also why Mountain View?
The thought was, that was kind of a decision made within because that project had already been started and it's just to try and complete it, because they did a portion of it, so the project's not entirely finished. And we would like to complete that street project.
And was that on any of our capital plans, or how did you identify that street?
It is actually in the capital plan.
Yeah? All right.
How, if I can continue
Sure.
your line of thought, because I
Sure.
was going to ask that anyway. Our former counselor, Howell, was always requesting money for that particular road. And so I would like to know also how much has already been spent on that road. And will this amount of money complete the construction, drainage, and all of that? Or will we be coming back for more money for it next year?
So we requested this amount. Will we be granted that amount? Probably not. Usually and typically from what information I've gathered, historically, the city has received anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 through the MAP program. So I'm anticipating that we will get only maybe, 30% of this request. But again, we shoot high in the hopes of acquiring that funding, yes.
Any other
Mr. Mayor.
questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Romero, go ahead.
go ahead.
Mr. Montoya?
I was gonna say, we had done the first part of Mountain View Drive, what was it, a year and a half ago? And, we ended up getting a different contract to do it. But our legislators and our governor, they emphasize for us to use this fundings, and the DOT too, the commission asks us to do projects that we can do in phases, because for us to have done the whole thing would have cost probably about $4.5 million, and it's impossible to get that kind of funding. So the most high volume traffic roads that we consider that are already approved, really, they have to be done in phases. I think we got pretty lucky with University Avenue that we're getting that much money for it. We even got luckier on Legion Drive that we got, what was it, 1.6, something like that. But normally, they want us to request for fundings that are like $500,000 projects, which really in today's world don't go very far. But that street is in dire need of repairs. Mr. Lopez has taken his crew there time after it rains to patch up our holes. But this would not be reconstructing the drainage or street lighting or anything like that. This would be strictly, basically for pavement and some sidewalk. Yeah.
It's a pleasure to council. Mr. Romero, I'm sorry, you had a question.
No, not a question, just more a comment, and I think it probably correlates with what Councilor Casey and you, Mayor, is I think we sometimes get questioned in individual wards as to why is all the construction happening in one area or another, and I mean, there's a balance at one time, because yes, we could phase it, but by the time we finish a three-part phase in one, some of us might not be around, and makes it look to us, to our constituents, that we haven't done a thing, right? So I think there's also that balance, and I think we've had that conversation with Mr. Maestas and yourself, Arnold, that, as different projects come in, we need to always have that fair balance to where it looks like, there's construction, road work and construction happening in every area. So that's just kind of my 2 cents to that.
And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have a retreat, is so that we can go and look into former, future projects and divvy them up between the wards. And I think it's imperative that we come together as a body so that we can feel like our wards are taken care of, and that all the money isn't going to one part of town. And that's the whole system with the ward system, is that each of us fight for our own wards. And so that retreat will be happening pretty soon, and maybe we can bring out a map and start prioritizing roads in other areas.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Casey?
thank you for saying that, because Ward 3 has gotten pretty much zip. And, the roads are in bad shape, there's no drainage, the sidewalks are horrible.
The university
and-
project.
Well, university isn't the whole district. If you go across the bridge to, across the railroad to Pecos, Commerce, all of those streets there, they're in very bad shape. Some of them are still dirt roads. And I think that's disgraceful. I'm sorry to say, but it is. And so we need to spread the joy to the rest of the wards so that everybody benefits from monies that might be available to us. So, and not just the big streets like Mountain View. Mountain View is, humongous, and it gets a lot of traffic, and so it has a lot of people driving it all the time. But the others that are residential areas, most people only go there because they live there. But they're in really bad shape, and they really need to be worked on.
And
so-
even like 5th, 6th, 7th,
Oh, yes.
all those
Third
streets,
Street,
they're
it's a
totally
mess.
antiquated. They definitely need upgrading. I've been approached by several people in that area. And there's just a huge need. And to
Yeah.
spread a little bit of jelly on the entire slice of bread is very difficult, yeah. So what's the pleasure?
I got to have a say-so on this one. We have $1.2 million or $3 million going into university. And then we still, when I was here 17 years ago, and you were here, Mr. Mayor, we did Douglas Avenue, we did 5th Street, 6th Street, 7th Street. And this time around, we've done streets in every ward. You look at the Old Town Plaza, Bridge Street. You look at Hot Springs Boulevard. So it's not fair to say that it's only one ward that's taking most of the crunch here. But I'll tell you that Mountain View and Legion Drive, they are high-traffic volume roads. They don't stop day and night. And I can count you and I can prove to you, and I'm going to have the chief put his monitoring device over there, and I'm going to tell you that between 12 midnight and 8 a.m. every day, there's at least 250 cars that travel those streets, at least Legion Drive, that I know of. I don't know Mountain View. But it is a very high-traffic road. And another one is Ridge Road. Everybody goes to the motor vehicle. Everybody works back there. And that street is a mess. Every day they gotta hit the same bump. So, you know, I like to be fair. And last year, like I mentioned, I supported Hot Springs Boulevard, downtown Bridge Street and 12th Street. And this year, we're gonna do University. We have Commerce Street on the list to do. So, and I put that on the list for a purpose. You weren't around when we put it on there. But we put it on there because, yeah, those people have been without, right now it needs blading. As a matter of fact, it's got a bunch of washboard on there. But, you know, once we do these two streets, I mean, those are the main arteries to Las Vegas and 518. All the tourists that go to Taos, I mean, they go through there. Semis, even though we don't want them, they go through there. So, you know, I'm with you and I'll support you on your projects.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council? Where were we? Do we have a motion and you need a roll call?
I'll make a motion.
Or we're
Mr.
going to
Mayor.
the next order of business?
We're still on number 5.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve this resolution of 23-02.
So there's a motion by Mr. Montoya, second by Mr. Romero. Next order, roll call?
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to item 6, request approval of Resolution 2303 to apply for and assuring of matching funds for the Cooperative Municipal Program Grant for a total project amount of $302,378.69. Mr. Lopez?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve Resolution 23-03.
Thank you. There's a motion by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Montoya. Roll call, please.
Was that second by Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Romero? Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes, thank you, Councilman Romero.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 7, request approval of resolution number 2305 to accept airport maintenance grant in the amount of $20,000 to be used for airfield maintenance and consumable items. Mr. Lopez?
Motion to approve, request approval for resolution 23-05, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion by Mr. Montoya, second by Ms. Casey. Roll call is please.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Arnold. We
Mayor, I
appreciate it.
just want to make a correction to the grant agreement. And we are going to be getting the revised corrected agreement in the morning. On this particular one, it says that the total grant agreement is $22,220, and it should read 22,000 even. So we'll get the grant agreement corrected.
22,000 even on
Yeah,
here?
it's here on the agenda, but in the
Not
actual
on the
grant
paperwork.
agreement, it's
okay.
it's different.
Thank you for picking that up, Arnold. Appreciate it. And thanks for all your work.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business, please.
Last business item, number 8, request to award requests for RFP 2023-04 for water and wastewater treatment plant operations and management services to Sauter Miller and Associates. We have our Utilities Director, Maria Gilvery.
Welcome, Maria.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilors. First one and last one. Yay. I start the meeting and I end the meeting. So we did take the RFP for water wastewater operations service out to the public. We will be finishing the first 4-year contract in early March. I believe it's March 7th. And so we need to submit a new RFP. Sauter Miller was the only proposer. We did review their contract. We did meet with the staff, and we'd like to continue with their services. We still have a challenge ahead of us to get away from contracted services. It is still not our goal to have our water system run by a contracted service. It is currently a need.
Thank you. Questions?
Quick question, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Casey?
I know that when I was on the council before, we had some issues with personnel from Sauter Miller and city employees. Those have been resolved and taken care of, and does that still continue, or what's happening there?
Yes, ma'am. Those issues have been resolved. There is still always, I believe, going to be a little friction between city employees and contracted staff. And I do talk with the staff and encourage them to get their levels so that we can all work towards having full city management of our systems. We have had a few employees earn, I think we've had 4 employees earn levels. And so they are progressing through the promotions and through the certifications to the point that some of them are now supervisors. So with that, we're able to cut back on some of the operations and maintenance costs because we were able to transfer it back to city employees. But the challenges that we had have mostly gone away, but I would not say they're 100%. I still believe there will be challenges I can work with.
My other question is, what is the contract amount?
So it is a time and materials, so there is not a specific dollar amount, but as I know you've asked this question previously, the estimated amount in a year is, as I mentioned before, was about 500,000 to 500 to 600,000 per year. I went ahead and looked at the numbers for the last 4 years. The average for the wastewater plant is 300,000. So again, we were able to pull that back and have more city staff do the work. And the water treatment plant, it has been right about 550,000 average per year. And that is due to the amount of time that the Sauter-Miller staff are working on behalf of the city. So again, it is a time and materials contract.
Okay, I'm asking because, again, in the past, and maybe I shouldn't be bringing that up, but I always worry. I don't like things to be repeated in a negative way. And to me, I think at one time, they had gone over the $1 million mark. And I am concerned that that doesn't,
Not in a year.
that doesn't happen. I can't remember the exact time frame, but it was an awful lot of money. And that is when I started requesting the monthly, and please remind the finance department, the check register so that we can see how much everybody's getting paid per month. Because I don't want those dollar amounts to start climbing and, they come in at, however many thousands a month and people don't think about, well, maybe we ought to add these up and see where we're at. And so that's what I'm concerned about. I want to make sure that they're not going over to extremes.
So because it's a time and materials contract, and I do speak with the water treatment plant manager daily, he lets me know when he arrives, he lets me know when he departs. We discuss emergency situations. During the fire, the Sauter-Miller employees actually were here 24/7, and we brought in additional Sauter-Miller staff. So during that time frame, the cost did go up. The entire difference between our normal maintenance and the maintenance that was due to the fire was forwarded to FEMA for reimbursement.
Okay.
So those costs are not going to be covered by the city. We have requested FEMA to cover those additional costs.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So Maria, I was gonna ask you, so on your pumps up there at the solid waste, how many are down and how many have you replaced in the last year?
At water treatment plant, sir, or wastewater treatment plant?
Wastewater.
At wastewater, we have a few pumps that went down during the power surge that we had on December 5th. A couple of them have already been replaced. We're in the process of replacing the other ones, and that claim has gone to our insurance because they were damaged due to the power surge.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. The council?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero?
And Maria, I hate to be like this, but I mean, I'll be like Councilor Casey. And I know when we approved this contract, there was some issues, and I know I asked you back then, what was our plan to do away with a contract like this? And I'm gonna personally tell you that I don't feel that we've done enough as a city. I know I did contact the mayor the city manager a while back when it was embarrassing that the Sauter-Miller was paying more than what we were paying our level operators. And that's kind of disturbing because at the end of the day, well, they're gonna get the employee and we're not. And so that's, that doesn't help us as an entity. To me, it just continues to, roll over year after year after year with Sauter-Miller, and it doesn't, basically, we're dependent of them to continue with that, and I have an issue with that. I'm like you, Councilor Casey, I think I don't know what numbers you're coming up with, but I know I had gotten this when Dr. Taylor was here, some numbers, and It was about 800,000, and we weren't even done with the year yet. So I don't know how you're coming up with those numbers versus what I got back. This was under Dr. Taylor.
I can provide the numbers. I use the purchase orders that we have, and the amount expended from the purchase orders in a fiscal year.
So currently, right now, where do we stand with our operators, water? If you could kind of.
At Water, we have 2 level 2s, who have tried to take the level 3 exam and have not passed the level 3 exam a couple of times.
That's our highest right now?
That's the highest, certifications we have at the water treatment plant right now.
Okay.
We do have some junior employees that did, one junior employee that earned her 1, and we have another junior employee that's in the process of taking her.
And what about wastewater?
At wastewater, we have, one employee that earned 2 certifications, and he's now the supervisor. He got his collections, and he's working on his wastewater now. So he's got his collections 1, his collections 2. He's working on his wastewater 1, and he's a supervisor.
So the highest we have in wastewater is a wastewater 1?
Currently, the highest we have is a wastewater 1 at wastewater 1 and collections 2 are the highest we have in, at wastewater, we have 2 different trains. One is collections and one is operations.
And I know I mean, it's hard to do this, but we can't compete with the private. I mean, think about it. They're paying more than what we are, so of course they're gonna get that, so we're never gonna get those employees, and there has to come a balance, and I don't know what it has to be or what. You know, we need to find that workforce, and there comes a point to where, you know, I don't know, is it mandatory for us to have the employees do it, or what are you doing? Because we're talking about 4 years, 4 years, and the way I understand is that you could test every single year, I think, or every 6 months.
You can test every year.
So in 4 years, the highest we have is a level 2, so are we not doing enough as a city, or we're?
We're providing all the training to the employees. The challenge becomes the motivation from the individual employees. The one employee who has earned 2 certifications, he's taken more than 2 tests, but he keeps going back because he doesn't want to give up. That employee has shown more motivation than some other employees, and I think it just has to do with that personal work ethic. But Counselor, if I could, I was contacted by Municipal League because to ask my input on water wastewater operations and related to PERA, and being able to bring employees back. And that is back in front of the legislature again this year. That is a huge, unfortunately, another Band-Aid, but that would be a huge Band-Aid that would help us get away from this. We do have people in the community that hold their levels, that held their levels, but they've retired. And so the only way for them to come back, and one of them did, was to work for Sauter Miller. That ended up not working out, but that is going to be one of the alternatives to help with the work gap, because they already have the experience and the certifications they can easily reobtain, as opposed to a young employee right now who has a level 1, where, yes, you're correct, it would be a year between 1, 2, and 3, 6 months to a year between 1, 2, and 3, depending on how everything lays out. But they have to serve as a level 3. They have to hold that level 3 for 1 year before they would be eligible to even test for a level 4.
And I know, you know, my working with the workforce development and that, I brought this exact concern up with, you know, this water and wastewater management and things like that. And just right off the bat, and I don't know if you were aware, but Santa Fe Community College does have a program for this type of thing, and I think I shared it.
I thought that had been.
No, it's still on there.
You still have it?
Yeah, so, I mean, again, and I don't try to, I mean, I'm not trying to say you're overwhelmed, but at the end of the day, I don't think we as a city are doing enough